My name is Alfie, I'm 9 years old and everyone would say I have a pretty normal life. In my last school report, my teachers wrote that I was a happy, confident young lad. I've lots of friends, I do well in most subjects, and I don't get wronged half as much as some of the other kids do. But the thing is, those teachers would never guess how I really feel inside. It's funny how you never know what's going on inside a person's head. When I arrive at school in the morning, I head for the breakfast club, wolfing down 3 slices of toast with butter and jam and 2 glasses of orange juice. One of the teachers on duty jokes that I must be growing fast. He looks like he might ask me if I'm alright, but his mouth just opens and closes again like a fish in a big fish tank. When I get in, the house is normally empty and dark. It's so freezing that sometimes I don't even take off my coat. Our electricity's had to be cut off because we can't afford to pay the bill, so there's no light that turns on when I open the door to our empty fridge. Mum hates it when I tell her there's no food in the house. It makes her really angry, so I keep quiet and try not to think about my empty belly. There's a street light outside my bedroom window, so I get into bed really early and use the glowing orange light to do my homework or write stories. I'm Amy, I'm studying hairdressing at college, and a few months ago, on my 17th birthday, I moved in with my boyfriend Dean, who's 20. When I first moved in with Dean, he would treat us to takeaways and meals out all the time. He'd bring me flowers or chocolates home with him from work and tell me I didn't need to lift a finger around the flat. Nowadays, he gets annoyed if he comes back and I haven't been to the shops to get our dinner yet. I suppose we couldn't live on takeaways forever, but it does feel like things have changed all of a sudden. I was doing everything right before, and now I seem to be doing everything wrong. I used to stop off at Costa for a coffee with my friends after college, but Dean always wants me to come home straight away now, and he's even started to get suspicious of me texting them. Sometimes I catch him checking my phone when I'm out of the room. It's like he doesn't want anyone else to get attention from me. My name is Chelsea, I'm 13 years old, and I think I might be the only person in the world who was actually happy when my parents split up. Mum and Dad were fighting so often that I was totally sick of it. It was worse when they had both been drinking. I would wake my little sister up and she'd force her way into my bed, making me super tired for school the next day. I wanted to talk to my family about things that were going on at school, about my GCSE options and boyfriends, well, girlfriends actually. I've had a girlfriend called Ikra since September. She's in my class and things are going really well. I was thinking of coming out to my parents just before they said they were splitting up. I wish none of this was going on so I could focus on her and my schoolwork instead. Every time Mum and Dad insult each other, it feels like 2 monsters are scratching either side of me with their claws, deciding who gets to take the first bite. My name is Jamie, I'm 14, and until recently I lived with my dad and his boyfriend Brandon. Most of my mates know my dad's gay, and I've learnt to ignore whatever stupid comments people make, because once you get to know him, you realise he's just like any other parent. He plays rugby, he cooks boring meals for tea, and he's always telling me to get off my PlayStation. He's pretty much the most normal guy you'd ever meet. Things were easy to ignore at first. When the two of them had a fight, I'd just turn the TV up really loud or take our dog Lola for a walk. That was really helpful actually. Lola's a border collie, and we'd go out for walks across the huge green fields round the back of the house. Sometimes we'd be gone for hours, but I felt safer when I could get away and pretend that none of this was happening. I told myself that kicking and punching is just the way men settle arguments. It certainly seems that way at school. There's a fight nearly every week. But then Dad started acting differently. One night, I couldn't ignore the fights for any longer. I thought Brandon would hurt us both so badly that I called the police. My name's Edward, but most people call me Ted. I'm 12 years old and I live in a flat in Sunderland with my mum. Things have changed a lot in the past year. We used to live in a big house with my dad and my brother Kyle, but then Dad left, and Kyle was really furious about it. The first time Kyle hit Mum, he was really sorry afterwards. He wouldn't stop crying and asking Mum to forgive him, and she just sat on the sofa in shock, totally quiet. He didn't do it for a long time after that. He still got super angry, but instead of punching Mum, he'd punch a hole in his bedroom wall or listen to music so loud that the whole house wobbled like a jelly. Just before Kyle was arrested last month, I told a teacher what was going on. The teacher was no help at all. He looked super nervous, shifting back and forth on his feet like a goalkeeper, and telling me that my mum should show Kyle who's boss. I wanted to laugh. I wanted to ask that teacher if he'd ever met a 17-year-old boy before, let alone my brother, who could definitely punch his lights out. After that, I totally lost confidence in telling anybody about what Kyle was doing to Mum. My name's Aisha, I'm 14 years old and I've always lived at home with my mum Julie, my dad Kasim and my baby brother Amir. My dad's Pakistani and mum is Geordie, but we're all Muslims and go to the mosque every week. Recently I've had a lot of worries to get down on those big pieces of paper Mrs. Khan keeps in the art classroom. I've been worrying about my mum and how much Dad shouts at her. Being at home all the time has just tightened Dad's control over Mum and me. It was like being in prison, like the house had become 10 times smaller than it used to be and Dad had grown 10 times bigger. We used to see Mum's family at the weekends because they only lived a few streets away, but during the lockdown Dad wouldn't even let Mum FaceTime them. I think I was one of the only pupils in school who didn't enjoy being at home all the time. It didn't feel relaxing at all. It made me feel like I couldn't breathe properly. The first piece of art I finished after all this happened was a giant sunset. I used lots of yellows, oranges and white, and I noticed that those were the colours I'd never really used much before. Mrs. Khan loved it, and she even asked if she could show it to my school counsellor, who loved it as well. They both agreed that they had thought it marked the end of something, and although things were still hard for me, they were slowly getting better, and soon the sun will shine again.